All right, let's talk about that question. You know the one. It's that huge, agonizing thought that probably keeps a lot of us up at night, just wondering, am I on the right path with this person?
Should I stay or should I go? Man, we all want that perfect, crystal clear, 100% certain answer, don't we? But here's the thing. According to renowned therapist Esther Perel, if you're holding out for a decision that has zero doubt attached to it, well, you're probably going to be waiting forever. The reality is just so much messier than that.
And that's because there's no perfect answer, which leads us to this really powerful idea. No matter what you choose, there's going to be some grief involved. Yeah, you heard that right. Whether you decide to go or you decide to stay, you're going to feel a sense of loss.
Okay, so what's so interesting here is how this totally reframes what we think of as grief. Think about it. If you stay, you might find yourself grieving the life you'll never know. You know, that what if I had left scenario. But if you go, you're going to grieve the good times, or maybe just the dream of what you hoped the relationship could have been. And this is so important. That grief doesn't mean you screwed up or made the wrong call. It's the cost of admission for making a big life choice. It's the price of closing one door so you can really walk through another.
So when things get rocky and that big should I stay or go question starts getting louder, what's our first move? You know, our gut instinct? Well, for a lot of us, it's to basically put on our mechanic's hat and start trying to fix our partner. We get stuck in this loop of thinking, if only they would just change, then everything would be fine.
And this slide, wow, it just lays out the two paths so clearly. The default setting for most of us is to point the finger, right? You need to change. You're doing this wrong. But the approach that's way more powerful, and let's be honest, way harder, is to actually look in the mirror and ask, okay, what's one thing I can do differently here? And the reason this works, well, it has everything to do with the basic physics of a relationship.
Okay, so imagine your relationship dynamic is like a figure 8. It's a loop. I do something, and then you react to what I did. Then I react to your reaction, and on it goes. It just keeps feeding itself. So how in the world do you break a cycle like that? Well, the only way is if I change my first move. If I step out of my usual spot in the dance, you literally can't respond in the same old way. Let's say I always criticize and you always shut down. What happens if one day, instead of criticizing, I ask a real genuine question? You can't just go into your usual shutdown mode. It doesn't fit. The whole dance has to change. So changing yourself, that's actually the secret key to changing the entire relationship.
All right, let's bring this whole idea down to earth with a super simple and, I'm guessing, a very relatable example. We're not talking about some huge dramatic betrayal here. Nope. We're talking about those little everyday fights that somehow reveal something way, way deeper going on.
Yep, we're talking about the dishes, the classic relationship battleground. Come on, we've all been there, right? You think you're just arguing about a chore, but before you know it, it's blown up into something so much bigger.
So what's really happening here is you have two totally different operating systems that you both learned growing up. It's like you're running on two different kinds of software. In one family, the code is eat, hang out, and then clean up way later at the end of the night. But in the other family, the code is eat, clean up immediately, and then you can finally relax. Now look, neither of these is inherently right or wrong, but the problem is both people walk into the relationship convinced that their family's operating system is the only right way to do things.
And right there, that's the whole point. The argument isn't really about the dishes anymore, is it? It becomes a stand-in for these much deeper feelings. What you're really hearing isn't you left a plate in the sink, it's you don't care about me. It's you don't appreciate all the work I do, or why do you always have to have it your way? The dishes, they're just the tip of the iceberg.
So the answer isn't about deciding which person's system is better and making the other one switch. No. The real work is for both of you to realize, hey, we're both just running on this old, outdated software we inherited from our families. The goal is to actually sit down together and design a brand new operating system, one that works for this relationship, right here, right now.
Okay, and this brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. If all those surface level fights, you know, the dishes, the money, who's always late, if that's not what the fight is really about, then what is? This is where we have to completely flip the script. Stop asking, what do we fight about? That's the wrong question. The real game-changing question you need to ask is, what are we fighting for? What is the deep unmet need that you're trying to get through this conflict?
And according to Esther Perel, underneath pretty much every single argument, you'll find one of these three core battles. You're fighting for power and control, which is really asking, do my needs even matter here? You're fighting for trust and closeness, which is asking, can I count on you? Are you really in my corner?
and you're fighting for value and recognition, which is just asking, do you even see me? Do you appreciate me? Okay, so let's go one level deeper still. Why do we fight so hard for these things? For power, for trust, for recognition? Well, it turns out these fights are often fueled by some of our most basic, fundamental fears.
You see this dynamic in so many relationships. On one side, you have a partner whose biggest fear is losing the other person. It's a deep fear of abandonment. So what do? They tend to give in, to appease, just to keep the peace. But on the other side, you might have a partner whose biggest fear is losing themselves in the relationship, a fear of being totally suffocated. And they tend to fight hard for their way, for their own space, for their own identity.
And here's the crucial link. What looks like a simple power struggle on the surface, who's going to win the fight about the dishes, is often just a defense mechanism. The person who seems to be fighting for control might actually be terrified of being abandoned or of being completely swallowed up by the relationship. That fight for power, it's just the armor they're wearing to protect a much more vulnerable feeling underneath. And this quote from Esther Perel just wraps it all up perfectly. What you see isn't necessarily just what it is. Go always looking at a level below. It means if you really want to understand your fights, if you want to make a clear choice about staying or going, you have to stop reacting to the surface level stuff. You have to get curious. You have to ask, okay, what is this really about? What's the fear that's actually driving this? So, we want to leave you with one final, really powerful question to ask yourself. The next time you're in a fight and you find yourself digging your heels in, just absolutely convinced that you are right and they are wrong, just for a second, pause and ask yourself this. What happens if I don't get my way right now? What am I really afraid is going to happen? Seriously, the answer to that question, it might just change everything.